Baseball is allowing itself to be ruined again. And no, I am not talking about the recent gambling scandal. Caitlyn Clark is the star of the WNBA. So why are people hating on her so much? And if I was so wrong about Jordan Love last week, then why are GMs in the NFL agreeing with me? That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is as old as Godzilla himself, my dad, Tim.
Godzilla?
Godzilla.
I never liked those movies.
Okay.
I love King Kong. I love Frankenstein and the vampires.
We haven't talked about this yet. Have you seen Godzilla -1 yet?
I haven't seen Godzilla.
That's not true. You watched the Matthew Broderick one with me, where they made Godzilla a girl. Great movie.
Okay, yeah.
I loved it.
Okay.
But that's also nostalgia as a kid. I really enjoyed it. But Godzilla -1 is the only way I know how to explain it where you'll understand this. You know how I am with The Dark Knight?
Yes.
How I saw it in theaters 8 times.
Yes.
This is the best movie I have seen since The Dark Knight.
That's creepy because you went and saw The Dark Knight so many times we had to put a stop and desist on you going to see it
Stop
anymore.
Spending money going to the movies. You can't see this anymore. I would see this 8 times in the theaters. It is my favorite movie since The Dark Knight. I'm not even joking. It is outstanding.
Is it outstanding or is it so cheesy you just love it?
It's not. Like, I was honest with you with Godzilla versus Kong, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was just a monster movie. You got to see monsters fight, and it was great because of that. This is actually a movie that could be considered as an Academy Award-winning movie. I'm serious. You have to watch it. The story, it's based in post-Japan World War II, and the reason it's called -1 is because Tokyo considered themselves after World War II at 0. No government, no military. They were bottomed out. And then Godzilla shows up. And so they are -1, below 0. It focuses around a guy who was a kamikaze pilot but didn't crash his plane. It goes into things about the Japan side of World War II that I didn't know. And it's very historically accurate. It is. I'm not going to go any further. That's just the beginning of the movie.
Thank you for not going further.
I'm not going to ruin it. But it is. Anybody watching this show, you must watch Godzilla -1. It's overdubbed because it's in Japanese, but the overdubbing is perfect. Like, you can't tell. When their lips are moving, you're hearing the English. You don't even notice.
That's what made those movies so great,
but that's what made it cheesy. You don't see that in this.
All
the
right.
voice acting's great. Go watch Godzilla. I'm going to watch it again tonight.
Okay, great.
You have to watch this movie.
I will watch the movie.
No, you won't. And I know you. You have to watch this movie.
All right.
It is officially a desert island movie for me.
Well, can we talk about a sport that is being attacked by Godzilla and destroying itself?
You're getting better at
I'm getting
the
better
segues.
at the
That was
segues.
awesome.
I took a break.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Welcome back to the Segue.
Yeah.
King. I appreciate it.
Tocopito Marcano, if I'm
Yeah.
saying that right, has been banned for life
As he should.
for betting on baseball.
Betting on baseball while a part of the team, betting on his own team, and was apparently really bad at it. He only won 4.3% of his bets he made, lost all of the parlays he made, didn't do well.
And lost any career he had, as he should have, because if you bet on sports, for those people who think, oh, it's not a big deal, yes, it is. Because if that guy is playing and he's got a bet on, he can just let a ball go between his legs. Oops, sorry.
Right.
Ruins the integrity of the game, but baseball has brought this on themselves.
The first active player to be banned for gambling in more than a century, since 1924.
Yeah, because Rose was a manager.
Rose was a manager when he was banned. May have bet as a player, but was not banned as a player, was banned as a manager. This is, I have to say, though, baseball, NFL, NBA, what did you expect?
Yeah.
What did you expect to happen? You get in bed with gambling. You ruin the integrity of your sport. What did you expect to happen?
You're going to be questioning every game by getting involved with gambling. Is it on the up and up? Did something happen? Did somebody drop a ball on purpose? What's going on here? You can't have that. You have to have that
It's
hard
too late.
line.
It's too late. Gambling is in sports now. I respect Adam Silver for what he said, saying we need to relook at these gambling partnerships. And you do, because we're seeing it all over the place now. Several minor league players have been banned for a year for betting on baseball. The reason they get a year ban is because the rule in baseball is if you bet on a game that you are involved in as an active player, it's a lifetime ban. If you bet on baseball in a game you're not involved in, it's a year ban. These guys were betting on MLB games when they were in the minors.
They should still be banned. I mean, you just can't allow betting when you're a player.
It's
period.
too easy now. There's no walking into a
I know.
casino. You can do it straight from your smartphone. This is what you're going to see from now on. This problem isn't over.
No, because we haven't even begun to talk about the fact that gambling can be as addictive as drinking
Correct.
and drugs and everything else.
And here's the problem. They were caught by legal sports gambling facilities. I don't
They're
know
policing
the word.
themselves, trying
And so
to
they're
get ahead of
policing
it.
themselves. They found his name. They turned these people over to Major League Baseball. That's part of the agreement they have. But what we're not seeing, and what we're going to start to see, is, okay, these players now know if they bet at these legal sports groups that they're going to get caught, which means we're going to see what we saw already in baseball with the Shohei Ohtani scandal,
Bookies.
that this is going to start going to bookies. And if you owe a bookie money and it's the World Series, you're going to start having bigger problems. What's crazy to me is these guys are making so much money at this point. There's no reason to do this, and yet we're still continuous to see this because they're bored, because whatever is going on.
Got a ton of time on their hands. We'll just throw down a few bucks. We'll have some inter-club competitions who can do it better, all that stuff.
Right.
I don't care if Joe Smith, who is a construction worker, wants to gamble on a game. Go ahead. Your money, your business, whatever. But if you are playing and you're a player, it's not going to be fixed until baseball brings in a very hard-nosed commissioner that says, we are done.
I hate to say this because Judge Landis, as a human being, was garbage.
Yes, he was.
But he was the best thing for baseball at that time. When the leagues were commissioned by one person, it was the first time in history after the 1919 scandal, and he saved baseball by going to the live ball era, by being extremely harsh on gambling moving forward. Now, did he stop the integration of baseball from happening sooner? 100%. Was he a terrible, disgusting, racist human being? 100%.
But he
was hard-nosed on baseball.
He did clean up the gambling. That was a problem. And what have I always told you? Those who ignore history are destined to repeat it.
Right.
Baseball ignored history, and we're right back there again.
The problem is this isn't an ignoring of history. This is thinking, well, we can get into this and it won't affect the integrity of our game. This is just stupidity. The problem is football with fantasy football took off.
Yes.
And that led to the NFL thinking, that's why the rules changed in the NFL for more receivers. It's because of fantasy football. The rule changes, make no mistake, the protecting of quarterbacks, the making more scoring in the league. It has nothing to do with the game itself. It has to do with fantasy football and fantasy football stats. That is why these rule changes are happening. So the NFL's been leaning towards this for a long time. Roger Goodell has brought the NFL to this point, and they're policing it enough at the moment, but we're not too far away from the longest yard situation happening, where a quarterback in a Super Bowl starts shaving off points because they're in serious trouble with bookies.
Which, hopefully, there's no quarterback that's making $50 million a year is going to get that much in the hole with a bookie. And if they do, they deserve to be in jail.
They do. Art Schlichter is a prime example. And we're not far away from seeing that happen again. Or worse, with the gambling being the way it is, what if somebody's family member gets deep into gambling, gets with bookies, and guess what?
Yep.
And I'm not saying this happened, right? But look at Patrick, like let's say Patrick Mahomes' brother.
And this hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened. I'm using an example because he's a star quarterback. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I hate that I have to be clear on that, but I'm going to be clear on that. I'm just saying, what if Patrick Mahomes' brother got into a situation with bookies? Guess what? All of a sudden, they're pressuring Patrick Mahomes. Hey, this is for your brother's safety. We need you to shave some points off the game. And that puts Patrick Mahomes in a bad situation. Gambling as a whole in sports can lead to a very, very dark thing. And I don't think we're out of the woods yet. I think this is just starting.
Well, we're in a dark place on another thing that's been going on since Billy Ball
I want to
in
talk
Oakland.
about this.
We've got to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about this. It's ruining my favorite sport.
Well, it's ruining your favorite team and mine too. Because what did we talk about? What was it, a year and a half ago? Corbin Burns is going for a no-hitter, and Counsell pulls him out in the 8th inning.
Yep.
And Corbin Burns hasn't sniffed a no-hitter since then.
Yep.
Drove such a wedge that Burns is now pitching in Baltimore.
Correct.
And I hope he gets his no-hitter.
Yep.
He lost the leverage in contract negotiation. That no-hitter not being there, they used it against them. Milwaukee used it against Burns, and Counsell did it again to Ben Brown, a rookie who had a no-hitter going into 7, and Counsell pulled him. What the hell are you thinking? These kids don't get a chance to go for these kind of achievements very often. And when they do, as a manager and as a human being, you give the kid a chance to gain immortality. But no, you think you're smarter and you're going to pull him out, and your reliever gave up a hit in the 8th inning. Well done, Counsell. I'm sorry. This guy just drives me nuts, and he shouldn't.
Normally, it's me like this.
Jesus.
So I don't get to see you like this ever, and I'm really excited about it.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Ben Brown,
preach.
a rookie in May, is going for a no-hitter.
Yeah.
And his manager stabs him in the back and says, no, you're done after 7.
Yep.
I'd have punched him right in the mouth.
I would have too.
I mean, that's ridiculous. And somebody's going to. He's going to try this crap on a veteran one time, and that's going to end it right there.
I don't think we're far away from that.
I hope not, because it's got to end.
Because, again, this is the integrity of baseball. People tune in for no-hitters, and for you to take somebody out. The 7th inning, guess what I did? I tuned into the game.
Right.
I wanted to see him finish the game. I stopped what I was doing to watch that, and then all of a sudden a reliever is put in the game, and I turn it off.
It's ridiculous. Baseball is all about the records.
Yeah.
And Counsell was around that 82 Brewers team. He gets how important numbers are to fan bases.
Yep.
But he goes everything by that damn iPad. Oh,
yep.
Got too many pitchers. You pitch too much. Sit your ass down. Screw you.
Well,
I'm going to finish this.
My favorite game of all time
Kerry Wood
is the Kerry Wood 20 strikeout game. That doesn't happen with the Cubs today.
It doesn't happen on Craig Counsell, wherever he is.
It wouldn't be allowed. I mean, I hate to say this because I am a diehard Cubs fan. Anybody who has watched this show knows that I am a diehard Cubs fan through and through. But they're losing, and it's the first time in my life I'm actually happy to see them lose.
Biggest mistake the Cubs made was getting rid of David Ross.
Yeah.
Who what he did with that team last year was amazing.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have been in the race, and yet they were.
Right.
And
this whole catcher thing, right? All of a sudden, our catchers are hitting combined an average of 186.
That never happened.
That money ball doesn't work, and their defensive awareness is terrible. They rank 29th in the league when it comes to catchers.
Can you imagine David Ross being the manager of that team, and would he have pulled out Ben Brown?
No. He caught a no-hitter.
Yeah.
He caught Jake Arrieta's second no-hitter.
And he knows how special those events are. They just don't happen. This is the week of the anniversary of the Galarraga situation where Jim Joyce took away a perfect game from him.
Right.
Jim Joyce, as hardcore as you can get, cried about that because he knew he cost the guy immortality.
Correct. And Craig Counsell is doing it on purpose.
Right.
And you're seeing the results of that with this team now. The fact that this team is struggling, considering it's almost the exact same team the Cubs had last year, there's one person to blame, and nobody's willing to blame him. This is Craig Counsell's fault. This is analytics in baseball. The fact that Moneyball took off for a team that it only worked 1 year and they got swept out of the first round of the playoffs. The fact that people want to go to this and get tricky with this stuff It doesn't work. You bring in the best players. And this whole, it's a small market team, so this is what you have to do. Well, then baseball, fix yourself.
Right.
You need to fix yourself in this situation. I get player union is strong and they don't want to cap, and I understand why that is. As a player, I wouldn't want that either. But there has to be some agreement with MLB as a whole to say, listen, we need to come back to playing baseball. And the big thing is you need to get analytics out of the game.
Well,
you have to.
They have a place, but you can't. You got to look at the situation. And if you've got a kid going into the 8th inning with a no-hitter, I don't care what the analytics say. You let that kid finish.
And as soon as he gives up a hit,
pull him.
Pull him.
Yeah, that's fine then.
You're done. I've seen that several times where they give up a hit, immediately out of the game.
Yep, but you at least have the chance to achieve something.
Say, nice try, kid.
Right. It's
done.
I screamed when I heard that he did this. Now, for the second time.
Yep.
And everybody got on me badly
Not
when
the second time. He's done this several times.
Well,
don't forget, the Brewers with Craig Counsell coined the term no hitter by committee.
Right, which is
they did
joke.
That twice.
Is
so
a
this
joke.
Is not the first time he's done this.
I understand it, but in my mind, I've got Corbin Burns,
Correct.
and now I've got Ben Brown, and that's the two I focus on because these guys are both deep into the game.
You're not letting him go for 6 more batters. 6 batters.
Right.
That's all he had to face. If he gives up a hit, you pull him. This kid, I hope he has a great career, but this kid could be out of the league in 3 years.
Could be the one shot he had.
Look at Galarraga.
Right.
One shot.
And to this point, Corbin Burns, who is an outstanding pitcher, never had another chance at a no-hitter to this point.
This is the problem with baseball. We see it all the time where people try to get too cute instead of just playing the game. You look at Lombardi from back in the day, right? What did he say? The halfback sweep. We're going to have somebody go here. We're going to have somebody go here and then up the alley, right? It was this. Stop us. You know what's coming.
Right.
Stop us.
And you can't.
Try. And baseball's the same way. These are our pitchers. These are our starters, our horses. Because the issue is with the relievers now, too, and this has always been the case with Craig Counsell teams, is later in the year, those relievers, especially in the playoffs, you've burned your relievers.
Yeah.
They're done.
They're done. And you can't have guys pitch 1 inning, throw 101 mile an hour, whatever they do for the 1 inning, and they get out of there. Teach these guys how to pitch so that they can face somebody the 3rd time.
The fact that we look at, well, if you don't throw 95 miles per hour, you're not going to get a shot in the big leagues is ridiculous. Because if I have a guy who has an 88 mile per hour fastball but continues to get guys out, I don't care that he doesn't throw 95.
No, but if he can...
I want to watch him do his craft.
I want to see his curveball, his changeup, his slider, all the different pitches that he can throw and watch him paint the black.
In 1989, the average fastball was 88 miles per hour. And now you're telling me that kids don't get a shot unless they're throwing 95?
It's because they
Gary
don't...
Wood was throwing 92, and people were like, wow.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
And they don't teach them how to pitch anymore.
No, they're just throwing out their arms. That's why the careers are shorter, and that's what the players need to look at. You want to lengthen your careers? Quit this thing with the pitchers having to throw 100 miles per hour.
Right.
It's not important. The important thing is saving your arm and getting creative with the baseball. Use your brain and get creative.
Learn to pitch.
Learn to pitch. Learn to pitch. This is I'm really getting tired of this. It's harder and harder and harder to watch baseball games because you're not watching anything special. You're just watching another kid that can throw 98 miles per hour, get a guy out, and then you pull him. I'm not there to watch Greg Maddux or Randy Johnson or Kerry Wood or Roger Clemens and
Nolan
down
Ryan.
the list of people. It's like, wow, I wonder what he's going to do today. You're either going to see him get destroyed and pulled, or you're going to watch something extremely special that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And now that's gone.
Yeah.
The star of your game is the person that has the ball most of the time. The star of the NBA is the player that has the ball most of the time. The star of the NFL is the player that has the ball most of the time. In Major League Baseball, all of a sudden, we're trying to make the stars players that hit 4 times a game. No, your star is the pitchers because they hold the ball most of the time. You need to change the way you look at your sport. This is getting to be ridiculous.
Well, and you've got young kids who you want to fall in love with baseball. Are they going to remember? I saw Ben Brown have a no-hitter through 7. No,
it's not special.
It's not
My
special.
dream in life always has been to watch a no-hitter live in person. And it's just never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Not until they change what they're doing right now. All right. We're going to move on. Last week, again, we put out a lot of shorts now, and we're not going to talk about the comments we get. But this time I have to bring it up because I thought it was hysterical. You got lit up about your take that you take Jordan Love over Lamar Jackson.
Well, it was more so the comment that I made where I said I don't know if I'd make the trade for Patrick Mahomes. Now, I do want to say I would make that trade, okay? I said that on the show last week. I would make that trade.
But we triggered something.
But here's the thing is, did you watch the Dan Patrick show?
Yeah.
I know you did.
I listened to it.
I know you did. Mike Tannenbaum apparently agrees with me. Now, I don't know what that says about a former NFL GM agreeing with me, but listen, this guy has a lot of insights in the NFL.
He knows the game.
He knows the game extremely well. Mike Tannenbaum has proved time and time again he is an extremely intelligent individual. And he's saying Jordan Love is the number 2 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, he said if I'm looking at building a team over the next 5 years, it's Mahomes, and then not even close. It's Jordan Love, and forget the rest.
I agree. I 100% agree, and that is my point. We know what Patrick Mahomes is, right? The sky's the limit for Jordan Love at this point. Next year's going to be a big year for him. He cannot afford a sophomore slump. No. We need to see him continue the trajectory the same way we saw Favre, the same way we saw Rodgers. Just continue to go up. But this is a dangerous team, and if Jordan Love continues to play the way he did last year, the Packers are a real dangerous team.
They are. And the thing I like about Love, and I've been the one saying you can't just look at last year. He had a great year. Fine. He's got to do it again.
Yeah.
However, what he's done in the offseason, going and working with Drew Brees, he's remaining introspective and very humble whenever you talk to him.
Yeah.
You know, he hasn't done anything yet.
He's competitive.
Right?
He's out there to win. Make no mistake, he is out there to win. And that's what you want out of a quarterback. And I'm going to defend the Lamar Jackson thing I said last week as well. Because if you look at the great quarterbacks of all time, you look at the Tom Brady's, you look at the Aaron Rodgers, you look at the Brett Favre's, go through the list. Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning had some really good receivers, but they take the weapons they have and they make them great. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who they're throwing to, they're going to make them great. Lamar Jackson hasn't done that. He always gets a pass because he doesn't have this number 1 receiver, right? But at the same time, we're talking about Josh Allen and saying, well, now we're going to really see the quarterback he is because he doesn't have a number 1 receiver. So is he really a great receiver, or did he just have a number 1 receiver? Well, which one is it?
Right.
Do you make the weapons around you great, and that's what makes you a great quarterback, or are you held to a different standard because you don't have a number 1 receiver? Well, it can't be both.
Look at Brett Favre. When he came into the league, he had Sterling Sharp.
Yep.
There was a Sharp quotient,
right,
that he had to throw to him a certain amount of times. But after that, he made other players better.
Look at Matthew Stafford. Same with Calvin Johnson. Because if you have a guy that is always open, you throw them the ball.
Well, that brings me to my next question. There's a big rumor that's been out there because Davante Adams came out and said, I'd love to catch balls from Jordan Love.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
We had a video that said spell regret, ADAMS.
Yes.
And this is 100% true. He regrets leaving Green Bay.
So the big conversation is, do the Packers try to get him, pay him $25 to $28 million a year, and put them on the team they have now, or do they go with the receivers that Jordan Love has been building chemistry with?
I mean, the answer is no, because Goody won't admit that he made a mistake there, because it shows he didn't, right? Jordan Love has been able to work with the receivers he had, and it shows that he didn't make a mistake.
He's had 2 good drafts.
The question is, are you going to have what you had with Rodgers at the end there? Because Rodgers was only comfortable with Adams, and Rodgers only made himself comfortable with Adams. He didn't work with any younger receivers. He wasn't trying to build chemistry. He said, I got Davante Adams. I'm going to throw him the ball. And that's on Rodgers there. are you going to have that quotient for Davante Adams, or is Jordan Love still going to be able to spread the ball around?
I think he'd spread the ball around, especially guys like Jaden Reed. But Devante Adams would be your go-to weapon, make no mistake.
Well, or not. You look at James Lofton with Green Bay back in the 80s, right?
No, John Jefferson.
John Jefferson, I'm sorry. They signed John Jefferson.
Yes, who was one of the number one targets in San Diego. I was thrilled to see him come to the team, and he was nothing but a decoy.
They just, triple coverage over there. We're going to get Lofton the ball.
Right.
That's all he was. And you can't have Adams come in and be a decoy for the secondary guys. Now, James Lofton is not a secondary guy. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, right? Obviously, they're throwing to the right person. But you have to let Adams get the ball here. So I don't know the answer to that.
Would you make the trade?
Well, I would, yes. Well, it depends what you have to trade for him.
Christian Watson.
Oh,
I'm just throwing out. You're going to have to give up a receiver.
Yeah.
I would not give up Jaden Reed.
No. Jaden Reed's your next star.
Yes.
He's very much a Randall Cobb-esque, but I think he's a better receiver than Randall Cobb. And that's not any bash on Randall Cobb. Cobb was great. I'm just saying I think Jaden Reed
special skills.
Is that much more special in this situation. I wouldn't trade Wicks for him. Wicks is showing that he can be really good. Christian Watson, I'd trade him in 2 seconds. I'd trade Dobbs for Adams all day. All day. It wouldn't even be a question. We should have traded Watson for
for Jonathan Taylor.
But I also defended not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know what you're going to get. What you do know is you're going to get a Davante Adams who's hungry to win and who is one of the, if not the best receiver in the league.
And honestly, as a Packer, I'd love to see him come back because I love Packer history. I'd love to see him get to that 100 touchdown mark and have his number up in the rafters.
Yes. For those of you that don't know, the touchdown record for the Green Bay Packers, most touchdowns in a career, is still 99, held by Don Hudson. And Adams was at 70, 77, somewhere. He's in the 70s somewhere and was very close. And if he would have stayed, probably would be breaking that record this year.
Probably.
And that sucks because I love Davante Adams. I'm a huge fan of Davante Adams, and I would have loved to see him break that record. It puts his number up in the rafters of Green Bay. But I also understand where Adams was at, wanting to go home. But it's proof what we always talk about. You can't go home again.
Well,
and can't.
And Davante Adams learned a hard lesson. When you leave a Hall of Fame quarterback, you're not going to get the same looks. But
did he leave a Hall of Fame?
He didn't know what he was going to get in Jordan Love.
Right.
Now he sees it and goes, oh, my God.
Right. Because the first couple of years, same thing we saw with Aaron Rodgers in the first couple of years. It's like, uh-oh, what did we just draft here?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you start to see the work ethic, the same you saw as Rodgers. And then that third year, you all of a sudden's like, oh, we have something here. And Jordan Love took off. I completely assume he's going to continue to take off. As you know, I'm giving him the gold jacket already. You see the eye of the tiger in him. This guy's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I certainly hope so.
Put him with Adams, and you're looking at an already Super Bowl contender getting even more of a Super Bowl contender. Because this defense for the Packers, hearing the Packers talk about it, it has a chance to be real good this year.
It's a new attitude up there. If they're going to make this deal, I think it's going to be a trade, end of October trade, where, okay, somebody gets hurt, which I hope doesn't happen, but if it does, we need to bring somebody in. Let's pull the trigger, and they bring it in.
That's assuming the Raiders are real bad this year. And they got Gardner Minshew.
Okay.
All Gardner Minshew does is win.
I know he wins.
He just wins. It's like Earl Morrall. Earl Morrall just won games.
He did.
He wasn't flashy. He didn't put up the big stats, but he sure as hell won a lot of games in his NFL career and should be a Hall of Famer.
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
The best player not in the Hall of Fame. And Gardner Minshew, all he does is win football games. He won in Jacksonville. He won in Indianapolis. I got to assume he's going to come to Vegas and win.
We're going to find out.
Could he be the next Ken Stabler?
No. He won't be the next Ken Stabler.
I don't know. I think the Raiders are a sneaky team here because he is a winner.
Well, we will have
no doubt about it.
We're going to have time to talk about our predictions that are sure to go wrong for the NFL.
They're going to be wrong. Don't place bets based on us. Speaking of gambling, you will lose a lot of money. You're better at this than I am, apparently. You had a much better year.
Yeah, but the year before, I was
Well, saying
Quite
you had a
awful.
much better year because you were 2 games above
Yeah.
500 and I was below 500.
Yeah, it's not saying a lot. There's a reason I don't gamble and I don't pick games.
But speaking of questioning things,
Got a lot of questions.
what's going on with Caitlyn Clark?
From my aspect, you've got the same thing that happened to Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. You got a superstar coming into a league, and she's being hazed. And she doesn't have a team around her at all. My problem with Caitlyn Clark, but I don't have a problem with Caitlyn Clark, but with the Indiana Fever, coach isn't defending her, and her players aren't running to her defense when she gets laid out by Sinead Carter.
Close enough.
Sunday, yeah, where it just ran up and just decked her.
Wasn't even foul.
Well, they upped it to the league upped it to a flagrant
But in
run.
game, it wasn't.
Right.
The only reason they changed it is because people went nuts after seeing it, which shows that people honestly weren't watching that game
Well-
to begin with because it was social media that got people upset.
But where would that league be without Caitlyn Clark? These players have to realize without Caitlyn
here's the
Clark,
thing.
nobody's watching.
The media is hating on Caitlyn Clark, which she went from American darling to villain number
Wait
one.
a minute. Not all the media. The guys that I've been watching, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Shannon Sharps, they're all defending her going, this is just what happens in competitive
What
sports.
bothers me is you have somebody on The View. I don't even know her name. I don't watch it. I just saw this clip,
Sonny, somebody.
who is saying she doesn't represent the WNBA.
Isn't Sonny Halston or something like that?
I don't know. I don't even
But-
know her name.
And what do you mean? And Jamel Hill, who's come out, who I used to love listening to,
I
but
did
came
too.
out and said,
Yeah.
Clark is getting this attention because she's straight and she's white. Really?
Don't even listen to those
It's
people.
just ridiculous.
Don't even listen to those people. That's stupid baiting stuff, and I hate it. They don't have anything intelligent to say, so they just go after that. I mean, that's the only thing they're doing here. My question is though, the reason they're riding in private jets is because of Caitlyn Clark.
Correct.
The reason they're getting this attention is because of Caitlyn Clark. My question is why is her coach not letting her be Caitlyn Clark? She put up 3 points the other night.
That's the problem Indiana has, and I would be replacing that coach because I want Caitlyn Clark. I mean, she doesn't have a team around her.
She didn't have a team around her in Iowa.
She's going to have more in Iowa than she's got now. But let Caitlyn Clark be Caitlyn Clark.
But can you say that, though? Because there's a lot of players in Iowa that are never going to get into the WNBA. These are the best women players in the country are playing this game.
Okay.
I don't know how none of them are stepping up. And the problem is if that happened to LeBron James when he first came into the league, which it did, he was beat up too. I mean, that's what happens to rookies.
Right.
Let's not sit here and be surprised. That's what happens to rookies. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. But nobody ran up to get into a fight with the girl who knocked her over.
No, and that's my problem. Where is her teammates? It should have been a bench clearing brawl.
Right.
Get over in her face and going, what are you doing to our star?
She went from being, like I said, America's darling to nobody. And I mean nobody on her side.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
The WNBA needs to step up and start telling these guys, this is our future, and support her.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing that bugs me about all the race baiting about this, I've always loved Morgan Freeman.
Yes.
You don't want to talk about race, just stop talking about it.
Right.
We watch Caitlyn Clark. I don't care if she's green with purple polka dots. She's a great ball player.
Right.
I mean, she's the Pete Maravich, some people are saying, of the WNBA.
Well, she has to prove it.
She's got to prove it, but give her a shot to do it. But I want to watch her, and eyes are tuning into the WNBA because of Caitlyn Clark.
And she's being completely isolated.
It's like they're trying to get her out of the league.
Yeah.
Which just blows my mind.
The WNBA clearly doesn't want her there, which is crazy.
Be
to
careful
me.
what you ask for.
This is just absolute insanity. I don't know why this is happening.
I don't either.
And I don't know why her coach isn't letting her be the best player in the league. What did the coach do for the Bulls? Let Michael Jordan be Michael Jordan. And then Phil Jackson came in and said, hey, we need to play more to a system. But you let Michael Jordan be Michael Jordan at first.
That offense still ran through Michael Jordan, even with a
did.
triangle.
Always ran through Michael Jordan.
You've got to get a coach in there that's going to look at Caitlyn Clark and saying, our offense is running through you.
Right.
and we'll get some players around you.
Right. And for her coach in the beginning of the season, in the preseason, to say, you're gonna get the ball back. Well, clearly she's not getting the ball back.
That coach, who, what have I always said? You praise in public, you criticize in private. For her to call out Clark and go, well, you're shooting too many threes. We got to get her to go back to shooting twos. No, you don't. Let her shoot
You
threes.
don't tell Steph Curry that.
Right. And she can make them. Is she having a hard time adjusting a little bit? Sure, probably. But let her shoot her way out of it. That's what great players do.
Right. Keep shooting.
Keep shooting.
This is getting, I don't know what in the world is happening in the WNBA, but you need to realize who your star is. You need to make sure that that star is protected, and you need to get her the ball more so she can, because if she ends up coming into the league and she is not the superstar that she was in college and the superstar people are expecting her to believe, guess who's not going to watch?
Anybody. Yes. And you're going to be back to being, WNBA is actually playing now?
Right. She's brought so much money into the sport. You need her to be a star, and the rest of the WNBA needs to start giving her flowers, thanking her for what she brought, and
every time they step on,
beating her up.
Every time they step on that chartered flight, instead of going commercial.
But it's jealousy.
It's all jealousy.
It's jealousy. This is ridiculous.
I get hazing a rookie. Fine. She is still your meal ticket.
Yeah. None of this is here without her being in this league. Don't forget, she had a $10 million offer to go and play 10 games in the Big 3 tournament,
right,
and turned it down to play for $72,000 in the WNBA.
Granted, she's got her endorsement deal.
She does. I mean, she's a multimillionaire, but she's playing
for nothing.
For nothing. At least for what she brings to the table, she is playing for nothing. And you sit there and bash this woman, and you try and beat her up on the court. Now, what this did bring to the table, though, is guess what we're talking about right now?
The WNBA.
The WNBA. But she needs to start making points. She needs to start looking like the superstar she is. And if the coach the Fever have now isn't able to make that happen, then she shouldn't be the coach.
Look what happened to the coach of the Bulls when Jordan wasn't getting what he wanted. They brought in a new coach.
Well, the problem is that I will argue with that. The problem was that Jordan was getting everything he wanted, and none of the other players were getting the look. It was just like, give Jordan the ball, he's going to shoot. I mean, he was averaging ridiculous amounts of points.
Still had a replacement.
And all of a sudden made it so, okay, get somebody else the ball and open Jordan eyes to, oh, there's other people here.
Jackson wasn't Phil Jackson when he joined the Bulls. He'd been a good coach, but he wasn't. He was
Showtime Lakers.
That was after.
Oh, that's right. That's right, Jackson.
Yeah.
I screwed that up. I'm sorry. Pat
Showtime
Riley
Lakers.
was Showtime.
Right.
And Jackson took the Lakers after the Bulls.
Right.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So anyways, enough on the WNBA. We have one division left in the NFC.
Going on to the AFC next week, it is NFC today, NFC West. For those of you that haven't been watching, we do the Mount Rushmore every single week. We started, I don't know, where did we start? NFC North?
I think so.
Started NFC North, made our way around. We're at the NFC West now. Who do you have for the Arizona Cardinals?
So let's see how many we agree on. I've got Larry Fitzgerald.
Yep.
Point taken. Aeneas Williams.
Because Larry Fitzgerald is the greatest wide receiver in the history of the NFL.
I was leaving you to say it. Aeneas Williams.
Yep.
Best cornerback in the Cardinal history.
Not even close.
I've got Dan Dierdorf, best offensive tackle of his time and the best in Cardinals history. And then I have Larry Wilson. 8 Pro Bowls, 13 years he played for the Cardinals. He is he's on the all-decade team of the 60s and 70s,
yep,
and the 75th and 100th anniversary team.
We agree on 3. I have Larry Wilson, I have Aeneas Williams, and I have Larry Fitzgerald. And by the way, anybody that wants to say Larry Fitzgerald is not the greatest wide receiver of all time, look at the quarterbacks he played with and the numbers he put up. Jerry Rice is a great wide receiver and one of the greatest of all times. He played with back-to-back Hall of Famers. That's all I'm going to say about it. My fourth.
Larry Fitzgerald played with
Jerry Rice played with Hall of Fame. I'm screwing up.
Larry Fitzgerald played with a Hall of Fame quarterback too. Who's your fourth?
I don't like you right now. Not going to go there. Not. Dick Night Trade Lane is my fourth.
That's a great pick.
He is the fourth on the list.
Yeah, Chicago Cardinals.
He is known as a Lion.
Pretty
St.
much.
Louis Cardinals. Or,
Chicago.
St. Louis Cardinals.
That was Chicago.
No, he played for St. Louis.
Okay.
He might have been there for a season when they were still in Chicago, but I know he played most of his time in St. Louis with the Cardinals. But I did pick Dick Night Trade Lane as my fourth on this list.
I picked him. I think I had him as a Lion but he was before the Super Bowl era.
I picked him on both.
Yeah. All right. Seattle Seahawks.
Steve Largent. We're going to agree on Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch. I don't have him. I didn't put him.
You don't have Marshawn Lynch on your list?
No, and there's a reason why.
You got to pick one running back, in my opinion, because Shaun Alexander is the forgotten running back of the Seattle Seahawks. And people forget how great he was because he had the rushing touchdown record, and then it was broken the very next year. He had 5 of the greatest years. He was a Hall of Fame running back. He had 5 of the greatest years any running back has ever had, and then got hurt.
Right.
And that was the end of it. So I thought about Shaun Alexander on here, but if you look at what Marshawn Lynch did, it is Marshawn Lynch that is the number one in Seattle.
I figured you were going to pick him, which is why I didn't.
Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah.
I also have Walter Jones on here, and Bobby Wagner is my fourth. One of the greatest linebackers of all time.
Okay. So I've got Largent.
Yep.
Went with Pete Carroll.
Okay.
I went with Cortez Kennedy. I don't think anybody can deny that.
That's fair.
11 seasons.
I mean, clearly I did.
668 tackles. The man was a beast. 58 sacks. And I went with Russell Wilson, not because he's a Badger, but because he got him to 2 Super Bowls. He won 1. He and Peyton Manning are tied for the most rookie touchdowns at 26. He was the biggest difference maker on the team. I looked at Jim Zorn. I looked at Dave Craig even, but obviously neither one of those are on there.
How could you not pick Walter Jones?
One
of the greatest offensive tackles of all time.
I know. And believe me, it was right between, it was him or Wilson. I ended up
You picked wrong.
I don't think I did.
They didn't win the Super Bowl because of Russell Wilson. They won because of their defense.
They got there because of Wilson.
They did not get there because of Russell Wilson.
They did.
In fact, they lost the next year because of Russell Wilson.
Because he wouldn't change Pete Carroll's call.
Correct. And he didn't see the defensive cornerback cheating.
You had your list. I
don't understand how you can pick Russell Wilson
because they
didn't win because of him.
Oh, yes, they did.
That's like you saying that Brad Johnson is one of the best because he was there for the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Russell Wilson was a lot better. He was on a Hall of Fame track while he was in Seattle.
He had a great defense, and you notice the defense went away, and all of a sudden it was let Russ cook. And guess what? They were not the same team anymore.
Because Pete Carroll refused to build that defense back up.
That's not true. They had a good defense. They were still building it back up. It was the GM saying we're going to focus around Russell Wilson all of a sudden. It was Marshawn Lynch that opened up the passing lanes.
I knew you'd pick him.
Wide receivers.
And he's getting represented.
The defense is the reason. The Legion of Boom is one of the greatest defenses of all time.
I almost put Richard Sherman on the list.
I did too.
Because of the Legion of Boom.
It was him or Walter Jones, and I couldn't leave off Walter Jones.
And for me, it was.
I almost took off Steve Largent as well for Richard Sherman, but I couldn't do that, and I had to put on Bobby Wagner.
Well, you do. And
if you're gonna pick the one defensive player from the Legion of Boom, I mean, you could go Earl Thomas.
You could.
You could go Richard Sherman.
If I was gonna make a change, I would have put Sherman in place of Wilson, but I went with Wilson.
Okay, we're gonna do that because that's a stupid
stop. Okay, LA Rams. I went with the originator of the head slap. They say he could have 300 or 400 sacks, not just 173 and a half. The man who hated quarterbacks, which I loved, Deacon Jones.
I want an answer at one point why they don't go back and watch the film of the Rams games.
Because nobody would touch him.
Nobody's going to touch the people that are there now.
Well,
nobody's going to touch Bruce Smith. 200 sacks in a career?
Okay. Problem is, football's got a recency bias. They always are looking at who's there now.
Which is a good thing. I mean, that's what.
No, it's not.
Yeah, because that hurts baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Deacon Jones probably did have over 300 sacks, and he should be recognized as that. But, He's in the Hall of Fame, and he's passed away
I just
now.
got to think that you could go back
You could.
and see.
All those games are on TV.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right.
it's
Who's
the 60s.
next?
I went with Merlin Olsen, 14 straight years as a Pro Bowler, all 60s, all 70s teams, 75th and 100th anniversary teams. Plus, he was on Little House on the Prairie for years, which was kind of cool. But
That is
Merlin
cool.
Olsen, he was part of, along with Rosie Greer and along with Lamar Lundy, made up the fearsome foursome. That defense was scary good.
Yep.
Never won a Super Bowl, but that defense nobody wanted to face. I saw what they did to Bart Starr a couple times. It wasn't fun.
They were dangerous.
And then I went with Eric Dickerson.
Mm-hmm.
Still holds the record, I believe, with 2,105 yards.
Yeah.
And
He does. Who's your fourth? Don't you dare do it.
what? No. I went with Isaac Bruce.
Okay.
I had to pick a wide receiver from The Greatest Show on Turf.
Yep.
And I went with Bruce.
I almost put in Isaac Bruce. Isaac Bruce, I think, does rank ahead of Torrey Holt, but you could also easily pick Torrey
Either
Holt.
one. I was going back and forth.
I mean, so I agree with that one, but Torrey Holt is right there.
Yes, he is.
You left off Aaron Donald.
I did, and I thought about that afterwards, but I had already sent you the list.
It is Aaron Donald on the list.
Well, who are you taking off?
Well, I don't have Eric Dickerson on the list either.
Okay. Well, that's because
I
I
have
think
Marshall Falk
Yeah.
on my list.
it was one of those two,
It was.
and it was a horse apiece.
And if you look at, is it recency bias? For me, probably a little bit. I saw Marshall Falk play. And from what he
And
could do coming out of the back, Marshall Falk changed the running back position single-handedly.
Well, and I saw what Eric Dickerson did and what he did
He
there.
was great.
He was just
He
unbelievable.
was great, but Marshall Falk, you look at a 10-year of career, he had much more success for a longer period of time. They ran different back then.
They did. It was a different game.
And Eric Dickerson's the only guy that's looked cool with goggles on.
Oh, he did too. I mean, if I was going to take anybody off for Aaron Donald, it'd be Merlin Olsen.
Yeah, that's who I'd probably. I have Deacon Jones on my list, and I also have Orlando Pace
I,
as one of the greatest Rams of all time.
Yes.
So that's my Mount Rushmore.
all right. Who do you got for the 49ers?
Joe Montana, one quarterback, and I wouldn't put Steve Young on this list anyway.
I wouldn't either.
Jerry Rice is on this list, the second greatest receiver of all time.
Okay.
Ronnie Lott,
Oh.
you have to put on this list. I'm assuming those are on your three
On mine as well.
This is where the fourth one I had a hard time. And I stopped
Shouldn't
myself
have.
from doing what I wanted to do. But if you look at what Christian McCaffrey has done in a short time with the San Francisco 49ers,
Hasn't played long enough.
I know he hasn't, which is why I went with Roger Craig
That's
instead.
who I did as well.
So we have the same four.
Same four.
But I will say, Christian McCaffrey is going to eclipse Roger Craig on this list
Not
at
unless
some
they-
point in his
Not
career.
unless they win a Super Bowl.
That has nothing to do with a running back.
I know he's a difference maker. McCaffrey is great, but he hasn't done it long
He
enough.
is the best player in the league.
He's
right now.
not better than Roger Craig yet.
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 If you go throughout his career with the Panthers and some of the stuff he's done with the Panthers and include with the 49ers, he is
But
a Panther great for sure.
yes,
Already.
right.
Christian McCaffrey in this system with Kyle Shanahan, with the other weapons that are around him. Christian McCaffrey, Offensive Player of the Year last year, was on pace for that the year before with the 49ers, but he had some injuries. And that's the only thing that's going to hold him back.
Right.
He's not staying healthy throughout his career. But I really, really, really wanted to put Christian McCaffrey as my fourth, but because he's only been there 2 years, I couldn't do it yet. And so Roger Craig is on there for now.
And Roger Craig does not get the attention he should.
He doesn't. He's still not a Hall of Fame. He's still not a Hall of
I
Famer.
don't- He's not. He should be.
Between Earl Morrall and Roger Craig, I don't know which one's the better player not in the Hall of Fame.
Over 7,000 yards, over 4,400 yards receiving.
Yeah.
I mean, the man is amazing, and he was the reason that West Coast offense worked as well
Yep.
as it did.
You could also look at Frank Gore as well. I don't think he's
could.
a Mount Rushmore player, but Frank Gore is a very, very, very underrated player. He's what I think he's second place all time in rushing yards, only behind Emmitt Smith.
Just unbelievable.
I mean, he was just a beast year after year after year. And now he's boxing or something like that. The guy's a freak of nature.
I like
That's
him.
my list. You got the same list. I like my list. You let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. But as you all know, watching this show, you cannot have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
So I am giving huge thumbs up and congratulations to the University of Houston Cougars. The NFL, because they're the biggest, baddest gorilla in the room, sent them a cease and desist because why? They had the temerity to wear Oiler blue or baby blue jerseys and baby blue helmets with Houston written across them, and the NFL said, that's too close to the Houston Oilers. So you've got to change. Houston told them to go and pound sand. Said these colors have been around this area for a lot longer than the Houston Oilers were. We are doing it. And they have continued to do it, and they're going to use it as a separate uniform this year, as they should. So congratulations to the Houston Oilers for telling the NFL to pound sand. Wear those Oiler blue uniforms with pride because you're representing Houston.
I'm confused. How can you have a cease and desist on a color?
It's the NFL.
That's like Green Bay sending a cease and desist to Georgia or Grambling or any of the high schools that wear that G out there.
It's ridiculous. You can't do
You're
it.
not in the same league.
No. I mean, this is a college
I get it if
team.
somebody, if the Houston Texans, which they are wearing a very close blue alternate.
They're wearing it. Why is the NFL not telling them you can't wear those? Tennessee has the right to.
A little bit different.
Little bit.
The blue's a little bit different.
Whatever.
But I get if the Houston Texans came out and wore Oiler uniforms, they'd say, no, you can't do that. But this is college. They have nothing to do with each other. There are other teams in the league that wear that same powdered blue uniform. What a joke.
And I've got a problem with NFL teams saying that we can take a logo that was used in another city and bring them to our new city. That's for you. You move.
Yeah.
That belongs to the town.
I agree. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.